With the first pick.
Every single year since the NBA was incepted back in 1946, there has been a number one pick. Some became all-time greats, some have been just all right, while others were just downright atrocious. During the years where there's a generational talent, some teams would literally tank so they could get their hands on such a player. And during the years when the talent was lacking, it was just, meh. Have you ever wondered, though, who are the best number one picks in NBA history? Well, today, I gathered a comprehensive list of each and every player drafted first overall since the dawn of the National Basketball Association, and using only numbers, I've got them all ranked to answer that question, who's the best? First things first, here's how I categorized and ranked them. Depending on the number of accolades that they've won, a certain number of points are given. An All-Star selection is worth 0.8 points, whereas an All-NBA third-team selection is worth 1 point, second team is worth 1.5 points, and first team is worth 2 points. All defensive teams are also worth points, scoring titles are worth points, and at the head of the list, what gets you the most points are championships at 3 points, MVPs at 4, and finally, Finals MVP bag you the most points possible on the list, which is 5. In between all these are the smaller awards such as being the All-Star MVP, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved, Rebounds Leader, and Assist Leaders. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's move to the other side of the equation. Here's a list of every single number one overall pick in NBA history. It starts off with the very first pick, who was Clifton McNeely back in 1947, and it ends with the most recent number one pick, Paolo Banchero. Sheesh, guys. This is a huge list, so without further ado, let's get it started. I'll begin with the process of elimination and make this list a lot shorter. Out of all 76 first overall picks, 23 of them have never won a single award in the NBA. Not an All-Star, not nothing. Some of this can be attributed to the recent picks who haven't had time yet to blossom like Cade Cunningham and Banchero, while some others were doomed by injuries like Greg Oden, and then you got players like Anthony Bennett who just didn't pan out the way basketball scouts predicted. With the remaining 53 studs, let's take a closer look. Purvis Ellison, back in 1989, only has one Most Improved award next to his name, so he's going to be out of the equation. Then you have a whole list of players who've only had one All-Star selection, such as Kenyon Martin, who clearly is going to be out of the equation. Zion Williamson also falls under this category, but he's still incredibly young, so his career obviously isn't complete yet. Next off, let's take a look at the players who've had 5 or less points. Some notable players here are Karl Anthony Towns with 4.9 points, Wiggins at 4.3, and Elton Brand with 3.6. We're now down to 31 players, and it's starting to get interesting. Let's look at the players who posted anywhere between 5 to 10 points. Some noticeable ones here are Andrew Bogut, who won a championship with the Warriors, Michael Thompson, who is Klay Thompson's father, and John Wall also falls into this range, and so does Ralph Sampson, Ben Simmons, Bob Lanier, Mark Aguirre, and the youngest MVP in the history of the game, Derrick Rose, is also here. Now we've got 21 number one picks left on this list. Everyone remaining here has at least 10 points, and I think from here, I'll go down this list one by one. At number 21, we got Blake Griffin. With multiple All-Star votes, multiple All-NBA selections, and a Rookie of the Year award next to his name, the 2009 number one pick has 11.8 points. At number 20 is the 7'6" former Rocket star Yao Ming, who also happens to be one of the tallest players in NBA history. Next up at 19 is David Thompson, who was the runner-up for the first ever slam dunk competition. He was nicknamed Skywalker, and Michael Jordan himself said the whole meaning of vertical leap began with David Thompson. Following him at number 18, we got Chris Webber, who, in the early 2000s, almost led the Sacramento Kings to defeat Kobe, Shaq, and the Lakers. After him, it's none other than Kyrie Irving at number 17 with 13.9 points. Uncle Drew was part of the Cavaliers team that overcame a 3-1 deficit in the finals, and he also hit one of the most clutch shots ever in NBA Finals history. Next up is a player who was a key member of the Showtime Lakers, James Worthy. With 7 All-Star selections, 2 All-NBA third-team selections, 3 championships, and 1 Finals MVP next to his name, Big Game James sits with 21.6 points. According to the numbers, he's the 16th best number one pick in NBA history. At number 15, we got the Knicks star Patrick Ewing. He never won a championship, but the man was an 11-time All-Star, was selected to the All-NBA second team 6 times, made a first team once, has 3 All-Defensive second team selections, and in total, he has 23.3 points on this list. After him, it's Anthony Davis at number 14. With 8 All-Star selections, 4 All-NBA first-team selections, multiple All-Defensive selections, and a championship next to his name, the 2012 number 1 pick has 23.7 points. Following him at number 13, we have Bill Walton with 24.9 points. Funny enough, in his 10-year career, Walton only has 2 All-Star selections, 2 All-NBA selections, but what really boosted his stock and made him a legend was 2 championships, 1 league MVP, and also 1 finals MVP. Next up is a person drafted in 1968, Elvin Hayes. With 12 All-Star selections, a scoring title, and a championship, along with a host of other accolades, the 6'9" power forward has 29.7 points. At number 11, we got a name that's been echoed in the halls of basketball fables, Elgin Baylor. The 6'5" small forward has 10 All-Star selections, 10 All-NBA first-team selections, 1 All-Star MVP, and was the Rookie of the Year for his draft class. He cracked 30 points on this list. Starting from here, guys, we have the top 10 number 1 picks in the history of the NBA. And starting at number 10, we have Allen Iverson. He's the only one in the top 10 who hasn't won a championship, but instead, he amassed pretty much every other important award you could possibly win. All-Star selections, All-NBA selections, scoring titles, and MVP. The 76ers phenom has 35.4 points, but more than his points, he'll always be remembered for how he changed the game with his flash. Anyways, at number 9, we have the original Mr. Triple-Double, Oscar Robertson. The electrifying guard from the 60s has 42 points. Following him closely is Dwight Howard at number 8. A lot of people hate on the 6'10" big man, but the man led the league in rebounding 5 times and was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He has 42.4 points on this list, which is more than Anthony Davis, who only has 23.7 points, which is why it's a travesty that Howard wasn't on the top 75 list while Davis was. I know Davis was a lot more instrumental to winning that championship back in 2020, but man, sometimes there's nuances to numbers, but not when the difference is this significant. Next up at 46.3 points is the other half of the Twin Towers, David Robinson. Nicknamed the Admiral, the 7'1" center has amassed quite the resume, which includes 2 championships and 1 league MVP. The next person on this list, in addition to 2 championships and 1 league MVP, also has 2 finals MVPs. Number 6 on this list is Hakeem Olajuwon, the one who dominated the league in Michael Jordan's absence in '94 and '95. Olajuwon has 67.2 points, but if you thought that was insane, let's keep moving. Shaquille O'Neal is at number 5 with 77.4 points. Arguably the best big man in the history of the game, Shaq has almost every single accolade on this list, but funny enough, he's never led the league in rebounding. But hey, with 4 championships and 3 finals MVPs, who cares, right? Following the Diesel at number 4 is another Lakers legend, Magic Johnson. 5 championships, 3 league MVPs, and 3 finals MVPs, along with a whole list of other accolades, puts the 6'9" point guard at 78.9 points here, which is good enough for 4th. Right above him is the best power forward in NBA history with 97.3 points, Tim Duncan. Sheesh. At number 3 on this list, he may not have been the most exciting player to watch, but with the fundamentals, he dominated the NBA for nearly 2 decades, and his resume shows it. I mean, just look. He can probably sell all those hardwares for millions of dollars on eBay if he wanted to. Anyways, next up on the list is LeBron James. At 111.1 points, LeBron currently sits 2nd place, and my goodness, guys, just look at that resume. 18 All-Star selections, 18 All-NBA selections, 6 All-Defensive selections, 4 championships, 4 MVPs, and 4 Finals MVPs. And the crazy thing is, his career isn't even finished yet. If I were a betting man, I'd say that when his career is all said and done, he'll be the top here on this list. Now let's move on to the number 1 person on the list, and that person is none other than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with 114 points. 6 championships, 6 league MVPs, and still the leader in overall points scored in NBA history. Kareem dominated the league for 2 decades, and as of today, at least with the numbers, he's the best number 1 pick in NBA history. Now that we've gone over every player and how they rank with each other, I want to go over a few shortcomings of this list because although the numbers tell us a great story, it doesn't tell us everything. A great example is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's no doubt he's one of the greatest number 1 picks in NBA history, but the man also played with Magic Johnson, who's also one of the top 10 players ever. Then you also have James Worthy and Michael Thompson, 2 other number 1 picks who played alongside him to help him win championships, which thus boosted his points. LeBron, on the other hand, during the 2016 NBA Finals had Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and J.R. Smith. The best of these is Kyrie, who isn't even in the top 30 when it comes to all-time greats. What's crazy about this too is that by the time his career is all said and done, when it comes to points on this list, he'll probably surpass Kareem, and he'll break his all-time scoring record. Other shortcomings of this list is the fact that I didn't record block and steal leaders because they weren't introduced until the 1973-74 season, and I felt like it wouldn't have been exactly fair to these players who were drafted earlier. Anyways, one interesting fact that I researched while coming up with this list is the fact that the shortest number 1 pick in NBA history stood at just 5'8". Yeah, that's right, Gene Melchiorre, who was drafted back in 1951, was 173 centimeters tall. And if you thought that it was because players were just shorter back in the days, guess again. The 2 players drafted before him and after him in 1950 and 52 stood 6'11" and 6'9" respectively.